I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Oops the Podcast. I am Julio, joined by Francis. Francis, how you doing?
Well, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. And as promised, we have a very special guest today. Welcome, the wonderful Rayna Greenberg.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here with you.
It's really a full circle moment. And it's a circle that we've kind of lapped a few times because Rayna was one of our earliest guests.
Yes, she was.
And then we had you again at the start of the pandemic on Zoom.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And now we've got you back because you have an amazing life development that we're so curious
The
about.
three-peat.
Has anybody ever been on the show 3 times?
No,
Am I the
No.
only one?
you're the only one.
Yeah.
And then, Julio, I think I met you the day that we recorded for the first
I believe
time,
so.
maybe? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to be back, guys. Thanks for having me.
We're thrilled to have you back. We haven't had a guest on the podcast in over a year and a half. And we love you. And we also know that, humbly, a lot of our listeners have found us from your
Which we appreciate.
megalodon of a podcast, Girls Gotta Eat.
Which, may I say, this is funny, I just had PTSD from when we used to have guests, when Francis essentially told me that I gave terrible intros to our guests.
Is that right?
You didn't actually, but you're like, dude, are you not going to say anything about them? And I just did that again.
No,
I just
no,
used
no.
a very
you were-
vague adjective. I said a wonderful guest.
That's great. That's
I'm
great.
sorry.
No, I don't.
Rayna's,
Interesting.
no, you didn't actually scold me on it, but it was funny. But Rayna's reputation precedes her. Obviously, you guys know about Girls Gotta Eat. She is a force of the internet and of every medium. And watching her live show with Francis was actually, we looked at each other and had one of the most humbling moments we've ever had in our lives.
Yeah.
We're like, someday, buddy.
Yeah.
Guys, this is too much.
This is at the Beacon Theater, and we had VIP seats, so we were seated right in front of, I think, Ashley's family, and very much the inner circle of the two of you, and you guys were dominating up there, and we just had such a blast.
It
So
was really fun.
very happy to be in your halo.
All right. Well, you guys are the inner circle too, and you've both been on the show, and we love having you guys. And yeah, that show was really special. We do a special annual holiday show every year where we have dancers and strippers and all kinds of stuff. And that was wild. It was so fun to have you guys there.
Cool.
May I say one thing about that show?
Yeah.
It's amazing how you sort of mobilize this giant room of women to go take the reins on their sex life. It's almost as if you charge them up and then you're like, now go. Because I encountered girls on the street who didn't know who I was, who were like, hey, who are you? Are you single? Like 5 different people. This is what you're doing to people.
We always say, I always say, I want you to leave our show and I want you to fuck. I just want you to be so horny. Also, there's 7 guys at any one of our shows. And so the women descend upon them. Our cameraman in DC, he's a very good looking guy. He is probably one of 5 people at that show. Probably one of 5 men at that show and one of 3 single men. And the entire audience started cheering for him. He said he got 25 phone numbers. There's no men there. Yeah, it's very funny.
Now,
Incredible.
here's a question I have. Do you think that you attract an already quite thirsty audience, or do you galvanize them to that thirst?
I think that probably any show attracts like-minded people to begin with, but I think that if Ashley and I want to do anything, it's to just empower people to just be exactly what they are. So we want this to be the craziest girls' night. We want you to dress up, go out to dinner with your friends, have a party, have charcuterie, have drinks, and make a whole night of it. And we want to just give people the reins to just be as crazy and wild as they want to be, because everybody thinks these things. Everybody is a crazy sexual being, and we want you to just feel empowered to lean into whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. So the room always feels first of all, it's mostly women. It's probably 90% women. Since COVID, we've actually had a lot more men come to the shows, which is nice. A lot more people I think want to just be with their partners doing stuff. So a lot more husbands, a lot more boyfriends, but it's a room full of women. So it just feels very much like anything goes. You can be as wild as you want. And we do a lot of audience participation, a lot of stuff with the people in the audience. So you could come to 50 Girls Gotta Eat shows and all 50 would be different because we do so much audience participation. We have a bunch of different stuff
That's
to
fun.
do with everybody. We want to bring people up on stage, and it's just a wild ass night. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Wow. Well, as you said, Julio, someday we'll have a live
pal.
show where everyone who was there goes out and just starts fucking in the street, grabbing butts without consent, whatever it is. Don't even worry about it. Be yourself.
I love it.
I love it. Well, so Rayna, we'll get to the heart of the matter here.
Mm-hmm.
So you've recently had a major life-changing procedure, and I don't want to tell your story. I don't want to mansplain what you did to your own body, but we're so curious to hear about it. I know you've talked about it as well, but I am sure we will find ways in that are novel. So if you would give us an update on your life.
Yeah.
Can I add something really quick
Yeah,
before we
please.
start? So I have heard from a distance about this, but never anybody close enough to me to where I could get real details. I've always been very curious about it. I've been curious about a lot of things about it. How a person gets there. Because, when you're a kid, as a man, when you're like a teenager, you're like, oh, why would you get rid of that? You know what I mean? You don't that. I had heard that before when I was younger. You know what I mean? So there's obviously a lot to this, and I want to know everything. So feel free to start wherever you want.
Yeah, and obviously cut me off, whatever. And so the buildup is I got a breast reduction. Lots of people get breast surgery. And Francis was kind of an integral part of it, and we've talked about this on our show. So I'll tell you how Francis was an integral part of it.
I don't know about this.
But I am in my 30s. I've wanted to do this since I was 18. I have had big boobs my whole life, since I was I probably hit puberty at 11.
Okay.
And started developing really young, and to the point where I had big boobs as a 12-year-old, and it scared me as a kid because I got a lot of attention that I really, really was not ready for, and it really sexualizes you as a young, very young person before you're a sexual being. You get a lot of attention from guys. You get a lot of attention
weird
from
adults.
Yeah, from adults.
Cringe.
Of course, all the boys in school want to be your friend, and I remember girls would call me slutty, and I didn't even know what that meant. I hadn't even kissed a boy before, but your body looks so developed. And I went to a private Jewish school. There wasn't a lot of talking about sex and sexuality at 11 and 12. And then by high school, I had double D boobs. By the time I was 14, I had huge, huge boobs. I was so much more developed than other girls. And again, you're just so much more hypersexualized than your average kid. So you're trying to figure out sex in general, but everybody looks at you as this sexual being on top of it. Everything you wear looks sexy. So you're just not really ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've always been really sexual. That's why I think, the show is so great, because I can form open, honest conversations about sex. But it took me a long time to get comfortable with it. And I think that growing up, I would slouch, I'd wear baggy clothing. I wanted them to go away so badly. I just wanted to look like the other girls. I started taking diet pills when I was 12. I just thought I could lose weight until they went away.
There's nothing
got rid of them. I mean, even at my thinnest, I'm 5 feet tall, so I am really short. But even at 100 pounds, I still had double D boobs. I know some people listening are like, yeah, so that's
And it probably did the opposite thing too, right? By getting skinnier just makes your tits look way
right.
bigger.
Yes.
Because they don't shrink.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
At what point did your own sexuality catch up to the sexuality that others were foisting upon you?
I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I mean, I probably discovered masturbation when I was 12 also. I thought that I had this crazy trick that only I knew how to do, and no one else talked about it probably for 10 years. So I don't know, through feeling sexualized. Why are you guys laughing?
It's funny.
That I masturbated at 12?
No, you're just saying it in such an honest way that it was funny. You're yeah, I was just thought I discovered this thing. It's oh, dude.
It probably was in tandem, right? I think my body looked more sexual than the average person at that age, and I probably became more sexual just as I grew up.
I see. Because you said you weren't ready for that, and people were assuming that you were very sexual, and then you said, I am a very sexual person. I was sort of wondering when those two forces came in lockstep.
I probably was more willing to talk about sex and porn and masturbation and stuff like that in high school than maybe your average girl was. But I wasn't having sex younger than anybody. I think I lost my virginity when I was 16. Mm-hmm. I think I had a quote unquote pretty normal trajectory in terms of the first time I saw a dick, the first time I had sex. I had boyfriends. I wasn't a promiscuous girl in any kind of way. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Do whatever you want. But I wasn't. So I think I probably discovered sex younger, and I was getting attention from older men. But being sexual, just a pretty average for everyone growing up type of thing.
Yeah. There's an episode.
Good questions, by the way, dude.
Oh, thank you.
That's really impressive. I
There's-
was like fucking Barbara Ellis over here, dude, with the good questions. What were you gonna say?
Thanks. Well, there's an amazing episode of Euphoria. Do you watch Euphoria?
No.
There's an amazing
It's too stressful
episode
for me.
that sort of highlights this for the Cassie character, where she
We-
goes back, and it's not like this isn't a giveaway or anything. You've seen it all, right?
yeah, but I haven't seen the last 2 episodes.
She goes back and flashes back to her youth when she started to develop.
Oh yeah.
And says how her dad's friends all of a sudden started hugging her
Hugging her
more.
longer.
And it was really creepy. And she
It's
was like
super
getting all
fucked
this
up.
attention from like older men.
Yes.
And there's this, yeah.
So I started working when I was 14. I got a job at a diner. I was a waitress. I worked all through high school. And yes, the way that men would look at me, the one that they would just stare at my breasts, I was 14. I was so young. And like the way that men would just leer at me or linger a little bit longer or like just, look at you while you're working. That's because I was in front of a lot of men. It wasn't just like I went from, home to school. So that's when I noticed it the most, I think, when I was young.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Because of that,
Uh-huh.
when you saw a man who was like super duper respectful, who did not treat you differently because of your fucking bombs, like, did you find that attractive? Were you like attracted to that guy?
It's interesting. No one ever asked me that. No, I think I probably was in my mind just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I think I just felt like, you don't feel like this. I probably was just
you're like,
waiting for
he
you to act
doesn't-
like a creep.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
when is he gonna show his true colors?
Yeah, I felt like people's dads were a little weird with me. I was babysitting probably at the age of like 12 and 13. I remember this guy drove me home. I was maybe like 13 or 14. The dad drove me home, and he was just saying some really uncomfortable stuff to me in the car. I didn't feel threatened physically in any way, but
Like
I
what?
remember telling my mom, and my mom was like, "You're fucking kidding me." He was like, "Do you have a boyfriend? Like, what do you guys do together?" It didn't feel like a normal interaction with like the way that like my dad or my uncle or my grandfather would have talked to me. It felt weird.
Dude, I feel
Now
like,
that you're a woman,
yeah, I feel like when I'm a dad, if I'm so aware of the, I don't know, just how quickly you can ruin your life by asking the wrong questions and being inappropriate, with a young girl.
totally.
That if we were in the car together and I were driving her home from babysitting my kids, my questions would be so preposterously safe that like it would be uncomfortable.
You'd have to run the dash cam.
What's
dude.
what's your favorite color? So Rayna, that's an interesting name. Where's is that from?
That's what your doorman said to me. Do you know what your name means? I was like, "Oh, is he hitting on me too?"
Does he know
That I had a breast reduction or what my name means?
what your name means?
Yes. Yeah, he does.
What does
It means
Rayna
rain
mean?
of sunshine.
People always ask me, "Do you know what Rayna means?" And I'm like, "Yeah, obviously. I've managed to get to this point in my life and learn what my name means. It means queen. It means queen in Spanish."
Oh yes. Yes.
That's tight.
Yes. You asked me something and I wanted to respond to it.
I'm so sorry.
I think some things I don't think we realize that certain things don't age well. So like, I don't even know that 15 years ago, somebody would have known that the things they were saying to me were inappropriate.
Right.
Whereas today it sounds so crazy and we are taught to speak to young women in a certain way. But like, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I was like 7th, 8th grade watching like Britney Spears and Jessica Simpson on national television be interviewed by men, by Matt Lauer, about their virginities. So I don't know that it was like so crazy back then. And I hope that young girls have a different experience today and that people are at least more cautious of the way that their words can affect somebody of that age. But yeah, I don't know. It was sort of weird. When I was super young, I was hyper conscious of my body and not wanting to show it off all the time. But there were parts of it I liked too. Listen, I liked that I got attention and I liked that boys liked me when it felt less threatening, like boys my own age. And I liked that I felt sexy and that it could be a part of sex, that you like had this very developed body. Like I liked that growing up too. And at some point you just have to say to yourself, I'm not going to feel insecure about this. I'm going to harness it. I'm going to learn how to deal with it. And I'm going to make it a good thing, which I did
You're gonna weaponize it
against
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right.
I'm sorry. I just pictured the ways with which you can use them to your advantage,
Yes.
like in a sexual situation.
Mm-hmm.
They really are a nice prop.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of nice things with
Sure.
them.
Sure.
Both you and your partner.
Oh, in the
And,
bedroom, yeah.
learning that must have been exciting. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, Julio's mind is in the gutter over here, thinking only
learning
about
about
the
tit
sexual
fucking,
uses for him. I immediately thought of like a stack of papers on a table, gust of wind blows in. Oh, thank goodness, paperweight. They're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? A lot of girls
Practical
don't have
usage.
that ability.
Well, like I was a bartender and I would like go to reach like the glasses, the bottles on the second shelf, and my tits would like wipe out the whole first shelf, you know? But yeah, sure. Sexually, I discovered stuff too, like tit fucking, you know?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I didn't even think that. I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking like simpler things, but like,
Like
yeah,
what?
tit fucking, just like the things, for example, you're on top of somebody and you're having sex and you can do the like single arm holding both while bracing with the left arm on the bed or whichever is your dominant arm. Like that's a power move.
To hold your breasts up?
Yeah, it's sort of like holding them like this.
People cradling their breasts during sex?
Is that a thing?
I believe it maybe. Maybe not. But see what I mean? There's so many.
I don't know. I feel like guys want to see them
can
bounce
you do
around.
something for me? Yeah, what? Will you hold your breasts?
with one arm.
No, I've never seen the cradle with one arm.
Will you let
braced
them
with the
perch
other.
upon your forearm like
cradle
two
with one arm.
canaries?
I'm more of a fan of like the lean forward while I'm on top, let them hit you in the face.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Or even the lean back brace, look to the sky.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
Look
just
at
saying.
me, look at me.
Yeah.
There's a lot like
Yeah.
in every it's just it's a fun thing. You know, it's just
Really good.
it's great. That's
yeah,
good.
nice.
Lots of things to do with the props. Yes.
I love it.
So you decided after all these years that it was time to take them down a peg.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was done with the look. I mean, people ask me, was it a physical reason? No, I was never in any pain. I'm like a pretty small person. My breast didn't like weigh a ton of money and have back pain. I just was sick of it. I was sick of like, you can't like do a lot of exercises like this. You gotta wear 2 sports bras to run. Everything looks, I mean, I'm 5 feet tall. I had like E-size boobs. It just, I mean, listen, if you like that look, go off. But I was sick of the look. I was done with it.
Mhm.
I had thought about it for so many years, and I had gone to get consultations about breast reductions when I was like, I think 19. And if you don't know about it, I mean, there's a couple different ways to do it, but one of the ways, they call it like a lollipop scar. They take your whole nipple off, they slice straight down, or there's an anchor scar. I mean, it's that, but also under your breast. So it looks like an anchor, basically. So at that age, I just felt like I wasn't ready. The scars scared me. And you only hear horror stories from people when you start asking about it, obviously, or you look it up. But that was so many years ago. And now,
What were some of the horror stories?
I mean, back then it was just that, you know, the scars never heal, or they pucker when they heal, or that they're red. And I'm happy to talk about all that. That has not been my experience at all. I've had a really positive experience. But I mean, every surgeon's different. I think that like, it's important to take your time and do it when you can afford somebody great, when you've researched all the people and you can get references from that person. You can see all kinds of photos of the patients that they have. You never know. You just never know like what could happen with surgery. But my experience was super, super positive. And of course, today there's so much information on the internet about it that you can research.
Is it considered elective surgery?
Yes. So I have never gone down the road of trying to get it paid for by insurance or anything like that. So I don't know the ins and outs of that. I paid out of pocket. I have heard that if you have like tremendous back problems, that you can probably get it supplemented by insurance. I've heard that if you can prove that it is truly an emotional distress to you, like a psychiatrist can sign off on that you might be able to get insurance to pay for it.
Interesting.
But I can't speak to it because I never researched that at all. I paid completely out of pocket. So you pay the surgeon, you pay for the anesthesia, you pay for the hospital visit. So all in, it cost me, this is a New York City surgeon, and this is a very expensive surgeon. So probably like the top most, I paid $23,000 for it.
Okay.
Wow.
I was expecting
yeah.
a higher number.
Oh, you were?
I have no context. So like,
Okay.
I thought
got
you
it.
were going to say 100,000.
I've heard everything
no
from
idea.
16 to like 22,000. And I'm
Okay.
talking 23,000 all in, like with the scar treatment, with the anesthesia, with the hospital stay, all of that.
Okay. That's like, yeah. I mean,
Okay. So you decided to, I don't mean to get into the specifics.
We can get into as many specifics as you want. I don't care.
What size did you want them to go to?
So
What was your goal?
I wanted a small C. The whole surgery experience, deciding to get it, going through the surgery, that was all super positive, and I'll talk all about that. I'm not super happy with the size, and I will probably get it done again. So
because they're too big or too small.
they are way too big. I don't really know what happened here. I feel like pretty angry about it.
Oh, wow.
the doctor, I mean, he said, they're swollen, they'll go down. Like everybody's body changes a lot it takes up to 6 months for like the tremendous amount of like swelling, scar tissue and stuff to calm down. But they're still like so big. I don't really understand what happened here. I feel like really angry about it, but I don't know. I mean, the advice I would give is don't let a doctor bully you and don't let somebody tell you that you're wrong if you know 100% that you're right. And if you know that you asked for something and you put it in writing and you showed somebody photos of what you look like, hopefully, if they still didn't do that, then they can either give you the money back or they can redo it. And I'm happy to go down that road because ultimately the surgery was a really positive experience. The swelling has been not bad. The scarring has been not bad. Like the healing has been good. Physically, it was not that painful for me. So I would do it again. I think that if you like get a surgery, you go through all that, you don't have what you want, you get it again.
Would you have the same doctor fix it?
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth about it. I don't love his like bedside manner. I think he's kind of arrogant. I think that he sort of tried to make me feel like I was an idiot when I said like, this is not what I asked for. But I think he did a great job also.
Right. It's a very tough pros and cons situation because like you said, like you're having an amazing healing process, which apparently is not something to be taken for granted. So like, that's all great. But at the same token, like you said, you're like, my tits are huge. And he's like, no, they're not. And you're like, are you serious?
Like,
why are you gaslighting me about my tits?
The nurse asked me if I had implants. I was like, the nurse at your office asked me if I had elected to get bigger breasts. That should just be a tip off to you. But anyways, deciding to get it was a hard decision. A lot of like soul searching. It took me a long, long, long time. I mean, again, from like 19 until now, I thought about it. I just felt like, do I want these scars? I couldn't get the scars out of my head. I was just like, I don't want the scars. I don't want the scars. But the more I talked about it on the podcast, now I feel like every single response has been so positive. Every woman that messaged me, and I got hundreds of messages, they all said, best decision in my life. Wish I would have done it sooner. I never got one piece of feedback from a person that messaged us that said that I regret it, that this was a bad experience. And I still kind of struggled with it. Like, do I really need to like rip my body open right now? And I had a really great conversation with Francis. And, you never expect like
so what do you say? Yeah.
Your heterosexual male friend who's engaged to a friend of yours to have like a very serious like sit down conversation with you about it. But you and I were talking about it and I just felt like, am I ready? And that was what I was really struggling with.
And this was almost on the eve of the procedure.
It was like a week
very
away.
Close.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everything is hypothetical until you're on the cusp of doing it. So like, even though I'd like put the down payment down and I had like done the COVID test and booked the hospital, I mean, you can pull out of anything. If you're walking to the hospital and you feel like I fucked up, don't go to the hospital. Just leave. So, you just said like, I think I was struggling with like, am I ready? And you were like, how long have you wanted this for? And I told you, and you were like, you're ready. You've done the research. You picked a good doctor. You've thought about this. You've like journaled about it, cried about it. Like you're ready for this. And I don't know. It was like a nice gut check. Nobody framed it for me that way. Like you wanted this for your whole life. Like you're ready to do this. And I felt a lot more at ease, I think, after that. So I thank you for that because it really calmed me down.
My pleasure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I was so, I'm honored that you would say that. I was also at the time very kind of put off by the fact that people were making you doubt your decision.
What would make you have doubted it besides the scar thing from before? Like who would have been making you doubt it?
The only people actually that made me like doubt it were people from an older generation who I think maybe have heard horror stories
Women,
about,
mostly?
yeah, but like have heard horror stories about people having bad experiences with the scarring, with the swelling, with the pain. But again, I mean, medicine evolves as we move through society. So nobody my age or a little bit older, and certainly not younger, ever had any negative feedback. It was people like not my mom specifically, but people like my parents' age that were like, well, you never know. And this is a big decision. I don't know. It just didn't feel like that. Like the surgery was like super easy. Everybody at Mount Sinai Hospital was like so wonderful. I felt really good and positive. I had friends round the clock there to like pick me up, bring me food if I needed anything. It wasn't super painful. It was quick. I was in and out in 4 hours. So it like wasn't that big of a deal. I went into surgery. I think we started at 8 and I was awake by noon.
Easy.
It's super easy. I had a friend pick me up. Breast reductions are a little less intense than breast implants in terms of the pain. I mean, everybody's body's different, but implants, they separate your muscle from your bone and they slip an implant in. Reduction, they just take out breast tissue. They sort of lift your boobs up, sort of like squeeze them upwards and just sew you back up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid.
Interesting. What do they do with all that tissue?
You know what's so crazy is that it never occurred to me for 1 second, and so many people asked.
Well, you hear all these stories
Just
about
throw it
how
in the
people
garbage.
take tissue from their butt and use it to fix burn victims, or they, all kinds of different places that you can reuse cartilage or whatever from your body. I would think that the tissue of a breast might go very well as a cheek filler or some sort of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they just reuse
You could put it in your butt. There's so many different. I wonder. I mean,
No, a lot of people asked. It was the most shocking thing because so many people were like, what do they do with all the breast tissue? I have no idea. I mean, I just assumed it was like medical waste and they put it with all the other medical waste that come, like they have special trash cans at hospitals that like dispose of all that shit. So I never looked at it. Body stuff really grosses me out.
Yeah.
Like,
Could you have asked to see it?
I guess.
Probably.
Some
be
people love
unusual.
that shit. I don't like, people like love watching pimples get popped.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
I
just
do, but I
picking
still don't wanna see
skin,
boob.
I don't want to see all those
Like that.
shows, like surgeries you see on television. I would rather die
Yeah,
than
yeah,
watch it.
same.
It's
I
don't
disgusting.
like
Makes my
those.
stomach like launch into my
I
throat.
don't like
Yeah.
those at all.
No.
So knowing that about you, then did the idea like have you had surgery before?
It's my first surgery. I
So
had
were you
no
freaked out?
experience. I just was a little nervous, but again, like I did my research. I researched doctors. I'm lucky that we have a podcast that's so female driven because so many women messaged me and literally 100% of them said, this is the best decision I ever made. Tons of women that had babies that got their breasts augmented after that. Everybody had really positive feedback. And I felt like very zen when I walked into the door. I mean, I cried a lot ahead of time. I like journaled about it, talked to my family about it, talked to Francis. But I felt really like happy when I walked into the hospital and I was ready to go and I had people available to take care of me around the clock after that if I needed it. But when I woke up, I was able to sit up. Like you can wipe yourself right away. Like you've use of your arms. You don't when you have implants because your
interesting.
muscles are so strained.
Crazy.
But the doctor told me that I'd be like perfectly fine. Like as soon as I opened up my eyes, I was like, I have to pee. Can you take me there? The nurse was like, nope, you can walk yourself.
Oh my God.
So you can sit up right away. You can wipe yourself. I mean, for about 2 weeks, I wouldn't have like exercised. I wouldn't have slept on my stomach. I probably wouldn't have had like a ton of sex. I didn't have any sex during that time, but I probably wouldn't have wanted to be on top for sex. But you wear like a bandage. You wear like a bra that kind of like binds you together.
Like what Mulan wore.
What is that?
Be a man.
Mulan wore
The,
a bandage around her breast to conceal that she was a woman
Oh,
fighting
got it. Okay,
in her
like
father's stead.
okay, like Christina Ricci and Now and Then. She used to tape her boobs down.
Is that right?
Yeah, you guys probably didn't see that movie. It was like a coming of age girls movie, but I remember Christina Ricci got boobs and she would tape them down with like duct tape. And I was around the same age, so I started doing that too. I think I was in like 7th grade. I would tape my boobs down.
Wow. Can you explain to me you said people who had children who then wanted to, like, are those things
Breastfeeding
correlated?
fucks your boobs up.
Oh, really?
Everybody's body's different again. But I mean, I don't have any kids. People say it makes your breasts deflate. It
Got
makes
it.
like breast tissue kind of deflate a little bit.
From the breastfeeding process?
It changes your nipples because, I mean, somebody's sucking on them all day, every day.
Like a chew toy?
Yeah.
They get bigger?
Well, your breasts fill up with milk when you're breastfeeding, but then it deflates because you're no longer feeding
Someone has
something.
drank the milk.
Yes, so your breasts deflate. So a lot of women get an augmentation, which just means like a lift.
Okay.
After they have their babies. With your nipples, everybody has a different experience, but you can lose. I think some people like lose sensation. I didn't. My nipples were hard day one, ready to go. They don't. I don't know what they do with your nipples either. Like I thought that they like take them off and like put them on the table next to you or something.
I thought
but
that too.
I don't think that that's the case. Because mine were like fully able to get hard like day one. So that was fine.
Nice. Did you test it?
So I was really
Were you, like, blowing
afraid.
on them?
No, I was really afraid to masturbate after surgery for like 2
Standing
weeks.
in the fridge.
I was afraid to masturbate because I didn't want my nipples to get hard. So I like did masturbate for like 10 days because I was afraid that they would get like too hard. Yeah, it hurt a little bit when they got hard. But if you don't masturbate for 10 days and then you masturbate, that is the greatest orgasm you will ever have in your life. It was crazy.
I was unaware that it worked that way for women too.
Wild.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said why, and I was like,
No.
oh my God. Okay, can I like ask a background question
Yeah,
again?
nothing you ask me is going to cross the line ever.
Okay, good to know. But this isn't that crazy of a question.
Okay.
But the hunching thing's interesting because I always thought, because I've known people who've had the procedure and not well enough to necessarily ask them about it, or I'm like not comfortable asking them. But like I've noticed that a lot of that people with like a smaller frame who have these giant boobs, like they'll have the hunch. I had always thought that it was like a physicality thing because the boobs are so like massive and they weigh so much that you're physically being pulled down. But the way you're describing it is like you were self-conscious and you didn't want people to see the boobs. Therefore, you were purposely sort of doing the concave kind of situation to hide them. Is there both things going on, or with you, was it one way and with other people it's another? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different for everybody. I've never had a single back pain, nerve issue. Every time I've ever gotten a massage, every time somebody's always like, wow, you have no tension in your back. I'm like, I know, great. So it wasn't a physical thing whatsoever. The breast reduction was just emotional. I just felt like I'm done with this. I'm done with being like looked at like this. I just wanted much smaller breasts. I did not get smaller breasts by that much. And so I will probably do it again.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that is wild. I'm impressed with your sort of level-headedness about that because I don't know. I've had a lot of surgeries in my life and they are never pleasant. It's just always shades of horror for me. And the idea that you had built up so much will to have this done and gone back and forth and sort of battled with the decision and had it be like this roller coaster of emotion for you, only to finally have it done with the most expensive doctor and to come out and to feel like you have to do it again. I mean, it sort of begs the question, like, are you going to pursue this guy? You know, and maybe you can't say that here, but
So I don't feel level-headed about it. I think I sound level-headed. I feel incredibly angry. I feel like really, really fucking mad. You're not upsetting me, by the way. I feel really upset about it. I look at myself naked in the mirror and I cry. I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe I went through this and I look exactly the same.
really?
Yes. Maybe like slightly smaller, but like, so the scars are not that big of a deal to me. Again, some people's can like pucker and they're red, but for me, they're pretty thin. They're small. The pain wasn't so bad. So the recovery has not been that bad. Yes, of course, I'll have a scar on my breast, but like, other than that, it's not that big of a deal. It just feels like, yeah, I went through all this. You have to get a mammogram to get this done. You have to get multiple COVID tests. You have to take a week off of work. You can't exercise or have sex. You have to really plan like weeks and weeks ahead, especially for people like us who travel for work a lot and do comedy.
You can't travel?
I wouldn't have probably gone to a busy bar, and certainly not an airport for
But like flying
maybe like a month.
doesn't affect it?
No, you could fly. It's just I didn't like I skipped Stay Humble probably like 3 or 4 weeks after I'd gotten it done because I wasn't ready to like be in public. And everybody has a different comfort level. I just felt like I didn't want somebody to like accidentally like elbow me in the tit. But yeah, I feel like really fucking angry. I feel really mad, and I don't feel like this doctor is being like nice about it. I don't feel like he was like, I don't know what happened. He told me to buy bras that fit, and I wanted to like the rage I feel in my body when I think about this. It's so intense, and I don't want to deter people from getting it because I feel like I'm glad that I did it, and I would do it again because the recovery and the surgery and all that just hasn't been that bad. But yeah, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of stress to not feel like you got exactly what you wanted. So yeah, I look at myself in like naked in the mirror and like I will like burst into tears.
Oh
I
my
like
God.
cannot believe this.
I'm sorry. That's crazy.
Thanks.
Would you rather that he had taken too much or too little?
I'd rather for $23,000 him do exactly what I fucking told him to do.
Good answer.
I guess if I had to pick, yeah, a little less because I've had such huge boobs my whole life. I didn't want them to be big at all anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be a focal point. My whole life I've been like that girl with the huge tits. I don't want to be described as that. I'm all set on that.
But let's say that he had made the sort of equal mistake on the opposite side, which is to have rendered you an A cup or something, very, very, very almost non-noticeable boobs. Then you would have had to get implants to overcorrect.
Right.
And you wouldn't have wanted that.
No, and I mean,
necessarily.
I've had big boobs my whole life, so I definitely do not want to get an implant. I wish he would have done exactly what I told him to do.
Yeah.
I did sort of struggle in my mind thinking like, what does sex look like when I have smaller breasts? What does my sexuality look like with smaller breasts? I mean, it's just been such a big part of my sex life. My whole life is just having these like huge tits. Everything I do is sexy. You have giant boobs. You wear a burlap sack. It's sexy. So I was just like, what am I in the sexual realm without these giant tits? So yeah, I guess to wake up with an A cup would have been like a huge difference in my life. But I woke up with like pretty slightly smaller breasts, and I still have huge boobs. Like nobody looks at me and thinks I had a reduction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you think that any of that pertains to the fact that now they are like perkier because that's like comes with the procedure? Like, is that part of it too? Like, you know what I mean? And again, I have no idea. I'm not suggesting that's the case. I'm not like gaslighting you.
I don't feel like you're gaslighting
Like,
me at
your
all.
boobs are much smaller. No, like to what degree does that impact it? And like when you look at them in the mirror, do you notice like a difference in the boob, even though the boob is not as small as you would have liked?
When the first like month, I actually was like not that unhappy because they were so swollen that they were like sitting up so high. It was wild. That swelling has gone down, and so now they don't look any different than they ever did, except for I have these scars on my breasts. So they don't look that different to me. And again, like if anybody is ever told by like a doctor that like you're crazy, I implore you to tell the person to like level with you. Just because a person has a medical degree doesn't mean that you're a complete idiot.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
God,
It's annoying.
doctors all have these God complexes.
They're annoying.
And they just think that they're better than everyone. And I wonder if we would not be better off without them.
Ever.
I don't know
Okay.
about that.
Who would be the doctors of society?
We would rub ointment
Chris?
on ourselves.
Dr. Chris, dude.
Somebody would figure it out, you know, poultices,
Can I ask you a
poultices,
question?
whatever it is.
Did you weigh yourself after the surgery to see if you literally weigh less from less boob being inside of you?
No, and I don't have a scale at home because I have like struggled with disordered eating my whole life, and I probably like because I developed so young, I have probably like weighed myself in the morning every single day since I was like 11. And I remember like in my 20s how that would like send me into like a spiral that was so bad if I had like gained like 2 or 3 pounds. And so not having a scale at home has completely like corrected that issue for me. It's not how I start my morning anymore. And so I just don't think about it. Like I work out, I feel like my body looks how it's supposed to look. I eat pretty much whatever I want, and I feel good about myself. And I don't have to like, it's not this thing in my bathroom I have to look at every morning like, oh, should I stand on it?
Right.
So I just don't have it, and I don't
Good,
know
nice.
if I lost any weight because of it.
You know, all of this really reminds me, my dad, you know, we grew up in Maine, and in our town of Freeport, there was a ski store, Arlberg Ski and Sport. And we would get our ski gear there. And one time my dad went in, they had a salesman, the guy who ran the place, his name was Jim. And he thought that he was like the ski whisperer, you know, that he could fit boots for Bodie Miller or Peekaboo Street, you know, that he was some kind of shaman of making sure that you had the right fit. Now, when you're putting ski boots on somebody in a store, you know, the only way to know ski boots really fit is to actually take some runs on them. But you can't do that unless you like buy the boot or whatever, or rent it, I guess. But, you know, buying them in the middle of a town that's nowhere near a ski mountain is a risky thing. And my dad knew when he tried these boots on that they were too small. But Jim said, and I quote, "I cannot sell you those boots in good faith." He said, you won't be able to maneuver. You won't have control. You want them to be really snug. My dad let him talk him into it. He skied on the boots twice, and they were so painful that he never skied in them again. And I remember my dad would say that it made him so mad that when we would drive by the Arlberg, I could see him gripping the steering wheel more tightly. And it really reminds me of your story.
Every time somebody brings up my boobs, I like feel it bubbling up. I'm like so angry, and I'm like, bring it down, bring it down. So yes, you say I seem rational. I'm not. I've just practiced feeling rational because people want to talk to me about it all the time now. I'm like, don't bring it up, don't bring it up, don't bring it up. I also I in general like to be a solution-oriented person. So I just like to say, like, I've never been the kind of person that like lets something sit on the brain for long periods of time and I panic and I worry about it. I identify a problem and I'm like, here's the solution. Here's how we're going to go solve it. So I can't do anything for the next like 4 months. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to wait like 6 months to get another surgery. So there's just, I don't know. I could like be really angry about it and upset, but like there's just nothing I can do.
Right.
So I'm just like dealing with it for the time being.
Right. Just hope that somehow things change.
Yeah,
during
hope
time
that they
or
get
something.
smaller. But for now, I have pretty much the same size boobs for the next 4 months until I can fix it.
Yeah.
But I would do it again, and I will do it again.
Wow.
Because the process itself, I don't feel upset about.
Mhm.
I like the shape. I like the idea that they'll get smaller.
And you can go in through the same scars, I would assume,
I guess.
and not create new tracks.
Maybe though, you just open the scars up again.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
So
that's
there's
interesting.
not going to be
That's
a
interesting.
new line if you were to do it again.
Fucking hope not.
Yeah. Well, you don't
Um,
want them looking like Kevin Spacey's face and pay it forward.
No, hopefully they can just go in there. Also, like essentially think about like when you make a ball, like a bean bag smaller, and you kind of like pinch it. So I'm assuming they'll open up the scar, pinch the skin together, and then there'll be a whole new fresh scar.
Oh.
Not where the original scar was, though?
I think they'll maybe would open up the scar, but like I'm
Okay.
saying they're gonna
Oh,
pinch
okay.
the skin together even more. So like that part of the
Oh,
scar will
right,
go
right.
away.
You're going to
That
want
would
us
be
to
nice.
go in through the original scar. I don't think.
No, but she's saying that you still go into the original scar, but now since there's extra skin, you will then put
Create
it
a new
together and there
scar.
will be a new littler scar.
Julio,
Smaller scar.
I don't
Yes.
think she knows what she's saying.
That's what she's
We're
saying,
the doctors
dude.
now. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Francis, don't tell me what I'm saying, dude. That's funny. You bring up an interesting point with that, which is like, and Hillary talks about this, and I've always found this to be interesting. She's like, when a woman stands up for herself, like to a man who's mansplaining to her or like gaslighting her, all of a sudden she's like a real whippersnapper. You know what I mean? Oh, she's a real fireball. That's like so annoying and unfair.
Yeah, the way the guy clapped back at me was so crazy, to be honest. And I probably hover somewhere in between, like, I don't like confrontation and I'm so good at confrontation. I'm neither of those things, you know? Like, I look at Ashley, who I co-host my show at, and she's so good at standing up for herself, and I admire it, and she just jumps into it, you know? Like, it takes me a minute, and I'm not one of the people that are afraid of confrontation, because every time in my life I've had confrontation with somebody, I'm probably better at the other end of it. And I feel like it makes your relationships better if you just have the argument,
So
you have
true.
the fight, whatever. And I've gotten better at that as I've gotten older. But this guy is a doctor, so sometimes they do just make you feel stupid because they know and you don't know. But
Right.
this guy, I said to him, like, I have huge boobs still. I don't really understand what happened here. And he was like, they're gonna get smaller, just relax. And I was like, okay, but they don't look like they're going to get a lot smaller. And he was like, they'll go down like 20%. He just kept like brushing me off and being like, I'm trying to get out of this room. And I was like, okay, well, I asked you for a small C and you said I was going to wake up with a big C and that they would be swollen, but I would get smaller breasts. At the end of that, I'm spilling out of a D cup. I still fit into a double D bra. And he said, well, then why don't you buy bras that fit? And the rage in my body, I thought I was going to kill him. And I just said I bought a breast reduction that I thought would fit the size that I asked for. So
Wow.
that's what I would like.
Good.
And
Good.
he kind of like brushed me off, and I ended up leaving the office. And he came outside after me, like I left the office. Like he was like, we'll check back in a few months. And he was like, wait, let's try one more thing. Because I think that even he was like, okay, I might have taken it too far. So some people have these like drains in their breasts when they get a breast reduction. It's like a tube and they have to like empty it out.
And how do you even execute that?
I don't know because I didn't have to have them. I think that it's just like a tube in your breast and it's like just excess fluid or something. I didn't have to have it. But he was like, well, let's try that.
Similar to milking.
Yes. You milk
Milking a
yourself.
I don't know if that's true.
I
I just wanted that to happen. I wanted to invoke livestock for my own personal amusement, and I don't know if I should have.
So they can do that to you. They can kind of milk you. They will.
Oh my God.
We're back with guests. This is what I do. I pick my spots. They're not all winners. You know?
You're not entirely wrong, to be honest. So
Yeah.
if your breasts are
great,
really
dude.
swollen with a lot of fluid, what they will do is that they will numb your breast. They will make sort of like a very small incision with a thicker needle, and they will squeeze your breast really hard to try to squeeze out any additional fluid into like a bag.
That I would love to watch. To be
Yeah.
honest. I like extraction. I don't like operations. Like I'm
Like,
into
what kind of extraction?
like pimples, blackheads. I
disgusting.
love it. But
Wow.
once they have to like operate, you lose me. But like squeezing liquid out of anything that's swollen, I'm always extremely interested in watching. And if you ever need like a companion to hold your hand, but also watch the tit
You can
liquid
come.
extraction,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to join.
It's like tapping a maple tree.
Exactly.
It's another one.
Yes, it is like tapping a maple tree.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's disgusting. Yeah. So we did that. That didn't help.
Well, okay. So the journey is not completed.
No.
But there's a lot that you've learned. And I mean, I think, of course, you're closer.
Yeah.
You are closer. You understand the procedure. You are no longer fearful of the procedure, which is a huge victory.
Yeah, I think that it was really scary because I'd never had surgery. And now I think I'd walk in there like, yeah, I do this all the time. You know, I know I'm not going to wake up all fucked up. The pain, actually, with the pain, we didn't talk about the pain. Pain was not that bad for me. I never took a painkiller. I took Tylenol for like 3 days.
Did they give you painkillers?
I think you wake up on painkillers. So I was like crazy constipated for like 5 days.
That happens?
Yeah, it was, well, everybody's tolerance to opioids is different, but how many times am I going to say everybody's different on this episode? But
Keep
whatever,
saying it,
bodies
girl.
are fucking
It's all
different. I think that stuff makes a lot of people constipated. It made me super constipated. So yeah, I didn't really want to take it. Also, stuff like Vicodin makes me really itchy.
That's what they gave you, Vicodin?
Yeah, so yeah.
I'm always so curious these days what sort of opiates people are prescribing. Because now that the,
Right, cat's out of
secret,
the
the
bag.
evil secret is out, I feel like you hardly ever see Oxycontin being prescribed anymore at all.
Well, I think that the farce with OxyContin is that they were telling everybody it's not addictive.
Right.
So at least with Vicodin, Percocet, Demerol, Darvocet, all the fun things I used to take in high school, at least Oxy was prescribed and they would say it's not addictive and you can keep upping the dose and everybody's different. And you'd have people on like 100 milligrams of Oxys in a
Right.
day and, it fucked their whole life up. So, I took Vicodin, I guess, during the surgery, but never again after. I took a couple Tylenol after. And other than that, I just couldn't sleep on my stomach or work out for a little bit. And
Do you typically sleep on your stomach?
yeah, I'm a stomach sleeper.
I'm
I
a stomach
love it.
sleeper too. Was that difficult?
It's nice.
I
Yeah, it's
envision
terrible.
doing
I'm
that,
not.
like training, because I'd like to train to be able to sleep in coach on long international flights, where I sleep upright on my couch and I cannot.
Why don't you just do it with your dining room chairs? You can just go to
Because it's
sleep
just
there
too,
tonight.
it just sucks too much. Like it's too easy to give up. But if I had a breast reduction, then maybe, which I couldn't possibly.
I made a conscious choice to go from sleeping on my stomach to sleeping on my back.
What? Why?
But I was probably 13 when I did it.
You go to sleep
What?
on your back. You wake up on your back.
100%.
How
Wow.
do people do this?
It's supposed to be good for your skin.
It is supposed
I
to be
think
good
it's
for your
much
skin.
better for your spine.
Interesting.
I was told that it's better for your neck, for your spine.
Uh-huh.
And when I heard that, I said, okay. And maybe the first night you don't sleep so well, but then the
Uh-huh.
next night you're tired from the first night and then you sleep. And then you're good.
That doesn't
It's
work
that
for me,
easy.
dude. That just doesn't work for me.
Do you sleep on your stomach so your neck is turned at a right
Dude, I'm
angle?
a really high
too,
maintenance
yeah.
sleeper. I need 2 pillows under my head, and sometimes I'll take the top one off. The top one has to be really thin. The bottom one has to be thick. And then I sleep with one, but I don't even necessarily use it that much. And it'll either be underneath my like thigh or underneath my torso. And I sleep with this little teddy bear. He's
Oh,
this
you
big.
are high maintenance. What does Hillary do?
Wow.
Is she allowed
She-
to be there?
We share the bear, depending on who is more.
It's a shared toy.
Yeah.
Share bear.
He's a little bear. I got him for her as a Valentine's Day gift once, and he's become our son, and we share him. And then sometimes I'll take him, and she goes, "Why are you taking him?" I'm like, "Okay, fine." You can.
Why are you taking the
We fight
bear?
over
Do you
him.
guys sleep cuddled up?
Not really.
Francis, you don't cuddle?
We wouldn't sleep cuddled. We would start,
Like a normal person.
and then say, all right, good night, and then turn our separate ways.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We'll we'll maybe start a little bit, and then I'll turn over and I say, "I'll be right back," and I don't come back. And then in the morning we'll have a fraternizing moment again where we
Let's fraternize.
dap and we we like hug
fist
and
bump.
we'll have a nice morning moment where we like
Do
you
a
know,
doggy on your side.
we and then I do
Yeah.
this thing too where I point, which is for her to roll over so that we can now like spoon.
Yeah.
But she doesn't like that or direct her. She says that I'm like a little boy who just like does what I want with her body. I'm like, that's not true. Like she say I'll move her hand like that. don't know.
I like that.
I'm
I like
oversharing,
I like to
potentially.
fall asleep touching in some way.
Interesting. I knew a couple that was like that. They would fall asleep holding hands, but they both slept on their backs. And it very much invoked for me a couple that had been buried together. And
No,
it's
that's
macabre.
crazy.
I
Holding
can't.
hands?
Yeah.
I feel you on that though. Like sometimes even when I roll over, I'll keep like part of the hand on her.
I
Just
like
to,
part of my butt touching like your leg or something.
Right,
like I will sleep on my side. My butt is like, I just like to know that you're there. I like to feel your presence.
That's nice.
Yes.
I want as much separation as possible.
That doesn't surprise me at
I
all.
want far corners of the bed. See you when I see you.
How
you
big
know.
is your bed?
We've got a king.
Okay.
I think it's a king.
You
or
guys have a king too.
California
Yeah.
king.
I lived briefly with my ex was long distance, and so he came to New York for a long period of time to see if he liked living here. And I have a queen bed, and that was not ideal for
Not big
us.
enough.
You get to an age where you've got to have a king. I hate to say it. I hate to sound snobby, but it's just the difference in sleep is so
It's massive.
noticeable.
Mm-hmm. I need like total silence, no movement, no light. If I hear you breathe, it'll wake me up. So I do. You're right. You just get to an age you're like, I just want to
Yeah.
be comfortable. I've been
You
doing
should-
this enough.
You should get a ambient noise machine.
I don't like those sounds.
But there's one that I do like, and I've recommended it on the podcast before,
Okay.
and so many people.
What's the machine called?
I think
'Cause
it's called the
people ask us.
Doma sleep machine.
Doma sleep machine, everybody.
Yeah, and again, I hate to give free ads, and frankly, that this fucking company should sponsor us because so many people have purchased that sleep
I feel
machine
like that about stuff that I recommend all the
as a
time.
result of us talking about it. But that is the one, and we travel with it now.
How big is it?
Tiny.
Why don't you just get an app?
Because the sounds that come out of your phone, we tried that.
Okay.
And we could never settle between airplane cabin, fan, and like ocean tide coming in.
Do you think that your relationship is doomed if you have different like ways that you like to sleep? Like, can you never live together?
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Would you mean as far as like the environment? That's
Like if the
interesting.
person that I was dating was like, I have to have white noise all night, every night, I would be like, we have to have separate bedrooms. I will
Wow.
never be on board with this. I feel it like in my stomach. I hate it.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
No, I hear you. I think that I would be willing to attempt to like make concessions, and you can develop a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's doable.
If I had if the one that would be irreconcilable would be a temperature difference for me.
Uh-huh.
If she needed to be warm and liked the heat on to 70 degrees, I would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
We're going through that, and in this weird way that you would never expect. So I'm near the window, and there's a draft, and she just doesn't feel the draft, so
Mhm.
she'll be hot when I'm not, and like vice versa. And it's like a balancing act.
Mm.
Yeah, and
You
you guys have less bedrooms than Francis does. So
That's true. That is true.
We now she'll sleep under the duvet, under the comforter, and then if it's warmer, I will take just a very thin blanket and use that. And I'll tell you something: having separate blankets
mm-hmm.
is a game changer.
Separate blankets is smart. I never thought about
That
Because
is
because then
crazy.
when she rolls over, I don't feel the pull of the
Oh,
blanket
yeah.
across my skin.
pull.
More
is
people
real.
should do this.
Yeah, blankets is
Women
great
love blankets, dude.
because you can stay in the same
They
bed,
really do.
but you're not. You sort of have your own covering. You have your own cell a little
Mhm.
bit.
I love this idea. I think more people should do it. I don't do top sheet. I just do the comforter.
Mm.
But I'm down with it. I'm down with the 2 blankets.
Mm.
And then in the morning, we can just lift it up and we can come together.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sounds like a difficult thing to execute, to be honest.
Julio.
I'm just saying, but dude, the women will like be under the blanket and then like you'll recover. You have to like recover them as if you're like rescuing them from a cave, and they will be like drenched, like their hair is stuck to their face in sweat, and like they're fine with it because they need the covers without.
Huh.
Is that not something you've encountered?
I've never really, unearthed Sierra to find that she was like having fever dreams, but felt okay with it because she was safe from the weight of the comforter.
No, I'm not saying it was judgment. I'm just like amazed at the commitment to the comforter when like when I'm hot, will just sleep without the comforter and it's completely fine.
I like the weight of something on my body, even if it's like the sheet. It's just like it tells my body it's time to like go to sleep.
Right.
But you guys
You like the weight of something on your body?
Yes,
not based on that procedure.
whoa, he's done it. He's done it. He's done it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
Sometimes you want a little less weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just want a little less weight.
All right. I think that's a great place to bring us home.
Yeah.
Rayna Greenberg, my God, what a gift. Thank you for joining us. You can find her, of course, at Girls Gotta Eat. That's her podcast. Here Comes Kojai, knows that it's over. Anything else that you'd like to tell our fans?
No, that's it. I feel very honored to be the newest guest. I love you guys. You're such a big part of Girls Gotta Eat. People can listen to both of you on our show. Francis has been at our live shows performing. Hopefully we'll get Julio also. And that's it. Girls Gotta Eat podcast and Rayna.Greenberg on Instagram.
Hell yeah. And
Awesome.
really quick, I've got live shows April 8th and 9th, Gotham Comedy Club. Still some tickets left, but they're going. FrancisEllis.com. G, anything?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Seattle this summer. I'm doing, I have some cool shows coming up at the end of April in LA. I'm looking forward to announcing soon, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Great. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon.